like she would do every week. So give us a second to see. Da-da-da-da. Today we have a very, very good discussion to have, specifically when it comes regarding to the omnibus bills that have been dropped in the legislature. I wanted to just give us a second to wait for Alicia. If not, I'll go ahead and start discussing them, and then when she'll join us, we can definitely have her give her spiel and her section of the live stream. But welcome to another episode of Tea Time with Brian. Today I am just drinking some cold green tea. So, cheers to that. It's not my typical tea cup, but yes, let's cheers to that. So let's get started. So definitely two very concerning bills. I know that this is something I always try to make this more of a conversational as well as lighthearted discussion, but these are very bad bills. There's just no other way of saying them. These bills are not only bills that are going to affect how our voting goes from now on, but just affect the early voting, the absentee voting. It's just, the reason why they're called omnibus is because they are so large and it packages several measures into one bill. And one of the things that is so insidious about these bills is the fact that they limit opportunities for debate and scrutiny. So they purposely, are big in order for there to be hard to stop. So the bills are not only bills that are going to just change entirely how we go about voting, but it's definitely going to change how we even look at voting. But we can definitely start with Senate Bill 241. This bill was dropped, and it actually wants to make it harder for to vote in absentee in Georgia, and it's going to make it even harder than most other parts of the country, which is crazy. Which the amount of Georgians actually did vote it, it's just crazy that instead of encouraging these people to continue voting, they're going to make it harder. The bill unfortunately has a lot of support, but we still have a chance to stop it. And my first call to action that I have for you guys, our audience, is to call our, Georgia Lieutenant Governor. And he needs to hear that us Georgians do not tolerate this attempts to codify conspiracy theories, because that's exactly what they are, just conspiracy theories into our state law. So call, Lieutenant Governor Jeff Duncan at 404, make sure you write this down, 404-656-5030. Make sure you tell them, hey, my name is so-and-so, I live in so-and-so, and I believe that our democracy depends on all Georgians having a voice. And that can happen if this bill, Senate Bill 241, is very specific. You have to be very specific what bill you're referring to if this bill passes. And, this would undermine our right to vote. So please protect your voters and stop this bill in its tracks. So, you can tailor the message to however you want it to be, but it's, the homework that I'm giving you, or the first part of the homework, it was this call to action of calling our Lieutenant Governor and let him know that this is just not a good bill, that he needs to stop it. So once again, 404-656-5030. So let's go into, telling you a little bit more specifically of why it is so bad. This bill is not only harsh because it's one of the worst, that measures that would stop absentee voting in Georgia, but it would, eliminate absentee voting for almost all Georgians, create absurd barriers to voting absentee, like having to take an oath and get a witness signature, which is crazy, requiring that most absentee voters actually have to include a photocopy of their ID, despite the fact that many Georgians don't have access to a printer or a scanner. So it's just making it clearly more difficult for the regular person to vote. And even more polling places there, which is so interesting. This is, something that I want you to keep in mind. They're moving polling places from school and churches, which is the norm, to sheriff offices, which is like, what's going on, So, let me see. Can you join? Can you ask to join, Alicia, if you are live? Let me see. Doesn't tell me. Request to go live, Alicia, whenever you're ready. Thank you. So let me continue talking about this bill. And unfortunately, those are the four things that are very, very interesting about this bill. And this bill is huge. Like, it's 40 plus pages. And the fact that this bill not only was, released a couple of days ago, but it was released right before the committee meeting for this bill to be heard. So it's like a lot of these things is being, done very, very, they want to just push it and ram it through without having the public, like you and I, actually being involved in the legislative session of this. So definitely not, and I'm sure this is probably a surprise to a couple of y'all that have been following, because I have told you that let me give it, okay. So Alicia is actually about to join us. So before I go into 5:30, I'll have her to House Bill 531. I'll leave that to the end of the session, and I'll have Alicia join us. See this. Hey, Alicia.
Hello, Brian. Are you getting me good?
Yes. Thank you for joining us once again.
No problem.
So, like I was telling them, specifically about Senate Bill 241, giving them a breakdown. And before I go into House Bill 531, I'll let you do your segment.
Yes, during these last couple months, America has definitely been in a turmoil when it comes to just handling global issues and really talking about what really matters and how we can move forward just to become a greater America and a better community as Georgians, as Texans, as everywhere. And obstacles such as COVID-19 required for all of us as a nation, as a country, to come together to come up with these solutions that will, in the end, impact everybody for the better. As we step into the new year, a spotlight was casted on Texas with their weather crisis, massive snowstorm occurring. Thousands of wind turbines were affected by the weather as they came to Texas. And a lot of people hear about, the damages that they see cost people's houses and how people are actually going on months without any type of water or any type of heat sources. Stores are sold out. We have children dying from hypothermia. Just very sad to hear, very horrible to hear. Something that we probably would have never expected. But what a lot of people don't know is that this windstorm was actually something that Texas actually had to prepare for. So today I just wanted to give 3 A's, which are accountability, action, and then aid. The first A stands for accountability, and that goes back on what you were talking about with the General Duncan and making sure we call about the bill. We have to actually hold the people that we are voting into office accountable. They can only know how we feel and what we're feeling if we actually go out there and make our voices heard, whether that be through emails or through calls, as you said, and preparing and educating ourselves on what actually do we have in front of us, what is the problem, and what parts can we put in to become a solution. Accountability, you need to know who your local offices are, who are your local officials, who's the right person to talk to about your specific issues. Again, where can your role pull into play to actually help it move forward? anything like that, even if it is bringing it to just the spotlight, you have to hold your local government officials accountable. Due to the deregulation of the actual power sources, the power grid in Texas, it closed off a lot of legislation when it came to the power grids, and that caused a whole uproar now. A lot of voices were silenced, opinions were placed on the side or the border of the issue, and it kind of closed the gate for any type of fluency or any type of conversation to be had. And this is something that we do not want to see when we going forward to this new year and we get these new obstacles. We want our community to be well known in every aspect of what makes their community run. Also, the second A is action. There's a lot of things that we can do to take action. Like I said, holding your officials is action enough. Whether that be you going to your local council meetings or governmental hearings, or even just knowing about your law and putting on the forefront the issues of it to your community to cause some type of flow of information being passed around. And then the last A is aid. There are a lot of aid programs out there for Texas, including the Greater Houston Winter Storm Relief and Red Cross. Right now, Red Cross is actually looking for plenty of blood donations. Any that you can actually donate will be great. There has already been a scarce of blood, especially in the Greater Houston area, and at this time, very much so needed. I will be providing the Winter Storm Relief, some links to that on my story today, as well as on Georgia Shift through some infographics. But all in all, I just wanted to shine this issue not just to just for Texas, but for America, for Georgians, for other states to see as a prime example of what we don't want to do. We actually want to stay connected. We actually want to be prepared. We actually want to take the necessary steps to be involved in our government, whether that be at local or state standings. And the first step to there is accountability. Now that this winter storm is happening, a lot of interviews have been going around, and everyone is saying they need to be held accountable. We want more information, and what people have to understand is when you wait so long to actually act and be there and be active, that takes time, that takes adjusting. So we need to get in the habit of making this something very normalized for us to be a part of our community and a part of our governmental systems.
And for those of us that are concerned, specifically catering to this when it comes to just climate change, please pay attention to House Bill 150. It is a very bad bill that they want, this is specifically was from the coal lobbyists. They want to propose, like this law will prohibit clean energy because cities like Savannah and Athens actually wanted clean energy and they want to prohibit this. So please pay attention once again to House Bill 150. It is a bill that has a lot of support. So we have to, us young people that care about, the climate change and know that this is an existential crisis that would not only affect everybody, like it's so fun to joke like, oh my god, you're not used to snow, but this is going to affect disproportionately Black and brown people, so we got to make sure
Yes.
that we are paying attention. So if you wanted to be already make your voice be heard, call the people in this committee, learn more about House Bill 150 because it is a very bad bill that unfortunately has a lot of traction in the legislature currently going on right now. So you can definitely have a strong power in your voice if you, lobby against it.
Yes, for sure. But it's definitely very important just for you to pinpoint how everything connects when it comes to taking action, whether that be political, environmental, socially. Everything connects, and you can't leave a gray area if you actually want stagnant, not stagnant, but constant change and to move forward. And I believe that we have to be more aware of that.
For sure, for sure. Well, thank you so much, Alicia. We definitely look forward to seeing these graphics that you have prepared for, both your social media as well as the Georgia Shift social media. I think a lot of us want to know how we can definitely get involved, because there might be some topics that we might not know much about. So I think that these graphics are great for us to have a good leeway into being more involved in our local or state governments. So thank you so much for joining us. Like I've always told you guys, Alicia is going to be joining us every week. So thank you again, and we'll see you next week.
Okay.
Thank you, Alicia.
Thank you.
So we're now going to hop into, move right along to House Bill 531. This is the other omnibus bill. And if you were not here before, omnibus means it's a very large bill that has a lot of measures. And this bill is just by far one of those, I've been involved in, lobbying with, Georgia Shift and other orgs in the past for, I want to say, since 2014, and this is probably by far one of the worst that I've seen. So that tells you already, because prior to this, absentee voting was permitted, everybody could do it, but because 1.2 million Georgians used it, I guess they were like, hold up now, we don't know if we want that many people voting. I don't know. But let me tell you why it is very interesting and deliberately why they're doing this. But let me tell you. Definitely, I want to tell you that this bill would not only prevent counties from offering Sunday voting, keep that in mind, cuts down the early voting period to 3 weeks, normally it's a month, and if they want to cut it down to 3 weeks, cuts down time to request absentee ballots, which makes no sense to me, and places new restrictions on the availability of the absentee ballot drop boxes. These bill, would have devastating consequences, not only for minorities, as we already know, but also working people and seniors and many others that just don't have the easy access, because a lot of these counties, this bill being so large, would apply to so differently across the board, with counties as, small counties from South Georgia to bigger counties in Atlanta. So it makes no sense why you would just have a one brush stroke for all the different counties. But, that's neither here nor there. Under the proposal, every election office must hold 3 weeks of early voting from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Another interesting fact, why is it so deliberately when normally it's 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.? Or it also eliminates Sunday voting, which is, let's just call it a spade, which is a very popular day for Black churches to organize efforts to get voters out to the polls. So they want to limit that. How interesting is that? But yes, let's continue. The bill also mandates drop boxes to be located inside of the early voting, which makes no sense when a lot of times the convenience of the drop boxes was that they were you could drop at any time. A lot of us work, and don't have access to go to these voting locations, so we would just drop it off. And there was not a problem because there was always 24 hour surveillance of these drop boxes. So you couldn't, quote unquote, the conspiracy theories say, just drop a whole bunch of ballots. That's just not true. It has been proven time and time again by the Secretary of State Raffensperger, that there has been no voting irregularities, no voter fraud, that any of those conspiracy theories are just that, conspiracy, and they're just not true. That's just that. I'm just going to call it spade a spade. But yeah, I think it's very interesting that, now they want to make it to, restrict the same hours of early voting, and they just want to also waste money for a lot of these counties, because now they want to have a paid person watch over these drop boxes, which is a waste of money, to be completely honest, especially when a lot of these counties could use this money for so many other things, especially to make it easier for persons like you and I to go vote. But that's just, once again, neither here nor there. It's crazy to me that, there was a record broken of 1.3 million Georgians voting absentee, and now they want to limit their voices. Well, I could. That says everything. You know the drop. You know the drop boxes were, like I told you, always watch. You know and there's just and any allegation of fraud is just that allegations. There's just no basis of that. But one of the things I can definitely tell you that we can, the second call to action, and the last thing I will tell you as your parting homework or things to do is the call to action of actually calling the rules committee chairman, Mr. Richard Smith, at 404 656 5141, or the vice chairman of the rules committee, Matt Hatchett, at 404 656 5025. You can just tell them, you can cater the message however you want, but the gist of it is, I believe that our democracy, depends on all Georgians having a voice. My name is so and so, and that can happen if our legislature continues to pass bill that will undermine our right to vote. Ask them specifically in your own terminology. It doesn't have to be exactly how I'm telling you, but tell them when House bill comes to the Rules Committee, please vote against it. Their vote definitely has a lot of weight, so that is a good way for us to start putting a stop to this bill that would be so detrimental to so many, of us Georgians. So once again, the number is 404 656 5141 for Chairman Richard Smith. And the second number for Vice Chairman Matt Hatchett is 404 656 5025. These are the two calls to actions that I am leaving you. Once again, we have to do everything in our power to make sure that House Bill 531 and Senate Bill 241 does not pass, because these bills will be disastrous to voting as we know it here in Georgia. But thank you so much for joining us. I think that this is the legislative session is picking up. The crossover day is coming soon, because this is more past the 20th day, which is the halfway point of the legislative session. So we definitely will tell you as the time comes when there's going to be sine die, when there's going to be crossover, as all of these bills would, be, we will let you know how these bills would end up and how we can put a stop to them, or at least stall them week by week. So once again, thank you all of you for joining us. This has been another Tea Time with Brian, and we will see you next week, same time, same place. Thank you, and have a great day. Ciao.